Good evening, good morning. This video is called No Other, and I'm just going to be basically sharing my thoughts on the last picture I posted on my profile. So if you're about to watch this video, just click onto my profile page and look at the picture I posted it has a black cube at the top, and then in the center there is a light. There is a light, which is a median or a line going through that black cube. And underneath that line there is a white cube. I want everybody to refer to this picture before watching this video. That way you can make the connection. People don't understand how powerful this picture is, and how this picture basically is showing you to yourself. There is no other. You are the central point. This is why our concepts of time feature in a dot and a circumference. You are the dot and the circumference. Everything is moving around you. The most common term is the universe doesn't revolve around you, but in contrary to that, what we have mistaken as this light we're calling the universe is only the inside to our own self. But very few of us have experienced the self beyond description, which is why we fall for the veils. We fully believe with our full conviction that we're human beings, that we're black men, that we're white men, that we're black women, that we're white women. And so this is just showing us to ourselves that we have never actually experienced our beingness to our core without description, without thought. So what that means is, without your thoughts, without some way to describe yourself, would you know who you are? And many people wouldn't, because they have yet to go beyond the thought of themselves. They think they are experiencing the I am, the oneness, the all is one. But if we have not experienced the pure beingness without description, because description is what introduces duality. So the only way you have an other appearing before you is by you falling for your description, by you falling for the word, by you falling for the Maya, which is the illusion that there are actually two things here that are completely separate and opposite, but the greatest conspiracy is with you and yourself. The final conspiracy is with you and yourself, because this will be the time when you realize and begin to experience yourself beyond description, to realize you are not white and you are not black. You are the median point. And this is why I want everyone to refer to the picture I just posted. If you're just joining on here, click on my profile and look at the picture of the black cube and the white cube at the bottom. And in between that, they are separated by a line. And that line is your center point. That line is the third eye. That line is what's behind your eyes. So you are the middle point, creating duality. And the ego tells itself that duality is the only way to exist. But this is the only way for the ego to exist. This is the only way for the ego to fall for the veil that it thinks to be the world. Right? So when we look outside, we think there's a whole world going on outside of us, and there's all this movement and motion. But what we don't realize is the same central intelligence that effortlessly digests our food and flows our blood. And this is what Alan Watts talked about, is the same intelligence that's naturally allowing the trees to release our oxygen, that's allowing the air to pollinate all the things, that's allowing this intelligence to flow. But we think there's an inside to this and there's an outside to this. We think there is the human and then there is the world. And so again, we have never experienced ourselves beyond description. We're so stuck on the veil. That's why we cling to the material world. If we can just hold on to it a little longer, if we can just hold on to this a little longer. But we need to start making the connection. The two are always one and the same. The only reason you have the above and the below, the outside and the inside principle, is because something within you is the median point. That median point is presence, and with presence you have everything and nothing. What that means is all duality is coming from a singular presence, and the reason we still don't know who we are is because we've fallen for the human belief of ourselves. We will never be able to coexist as human beings. If you've seen the episode or the series called The 100, which I just finished, but if you've watched The 100, this shows to you very clearly we will never coexist as one being as long as we think we are human. And I can tell you why. As long as we are treating ourselves, each other, as human beings, we're not acknowledging ourselves as that sovereign being that we're calling I am. This is where human beings step on each other's toes. This is where human beings can never agree. Because we create authoritarian systems. We create justice systems, legal systems, financial systems, and all these systems which classify you and tell you who you are. But none of these classifications exist, none of these descriptions exist, and none of them are valid beyond the physical. These are words we use to become familiar with ourselves. But what about the silence that the words are actually coming from and never leave? The silence is our presence. There's a reason there's no sound in outer space. That outer space is your inner space right behind your eyes. And silence is our source. Silence is our truest presence. And that's what we forget, is presence is everything. Presence is all sound, all motion, everything. So until we get lost in the presence of ourselves instead of the thoughts and ideas and descriptions of ourselves, we will never know and be able to treat each other as sovereign beings. So for example, with this abortion law that just passed, and again, if you follow me, you notice I do not post statuses as these things happen, as COVID pops up, as abortion laws change, as these things happen, I don't post about them. Because I tell people all the time, you are not human, and these human laws that are being passed, they hold no weight beyond the physical. These are not laws which are governing your blood and the intelligence that I'm speaking of. These are not laws that govern anything. They are meaningless. And the reason, again, we're stepping on each other's toes is because we're the only species pretending to be something we are not. I used this reference with my cousin the other day. But let's say you have a school of clownfish over here and a school of clownfish over here. And you know how vast the ocean is. So these two schools of fish have never met, but they're both clownfish. Never met, never seen each other. All animals, all species, all nature has the natural intelligence to look at itself and recognize itself immediately. What that means is this school of fish and this school of fish in this vast ocean will have never seen each other for a day, not even for a minute. But the minute they come in contact, there is a natural intelligence that requires no word. They know they're one. They know they're one and the same. There is no you or me. The second they see this reflection, they are seeing themselves. And it's a natural intelligence that is in every species and nature but us. We do not have the ability to look at ourselves and recognize ourselves. When you look at me, you see a white man and you see all the descriptions and classifications that come with me. But I am not human. You are not human. I am not white. You are not black. You are not white. I am not black. We are the I am, this sovereign being. So back to my point, this is why we're stepping on each other's toes, telling us what we can do, what we can buy, when we can buy it. Abortion laws, things like this. Nobody, no one has any more control, power here than anybody else beyond the physical. Once again, there's a reason our ancient cultures, our native cultures, they didn't pass laws. They didn't have a government. They didn't have a financial system. They had the natural intelligence within them that I'm speaking of, that every animal and nature has written within it. They recognized themselves. What that means is when they saw another person, it was not seen as another person. It was seen directly as themselves. Your hand is my hand. There is nothing separating us other than I do not feel the sensation of your hand. I feel the sensation of mine. However, eliminate the you and me, and all you have is that sensation in the hand. That is universal. I may not be feeling your hand, but your hand is my hand. So when you go into the universal feeling of a hand feeling itself, we are one and the same. We become separate when you say this is your hand and this is my hand. You want to experience my hand, but you fail to realize that my hand is your own. Therefore, you do not recognize the literacy that you are all that is. All of creation is one presence. And creation is the dream. That is precisely what never born, never died means. You have never entered here, and you will never leave here, because presence is everything and nothing simultaneously. And it is your nothingness that evokes that something out of that nothing. Your presence sparks this light that we mistaken as a Big Bang, that we've mistaken as consciousness, that we've mistaken as a world, as a place. But the only reason this light that you think to be the world is there so you can bear witness your totality. That's why the greatest questions we can ask are not about just ourselves, but this vast universe. Where are we? How did we get here? Well, the greatest answer to that lies within yourself. But we don't believe in ourselves because we're just human beings. We're at the bottom of the totem pole, so we need an alien. We need intelligent life. We need artificial intelligence. We need something other than ourselves to confirm to us and show us who we are for us, because we don't believe in ourselves. We like the spiritual quotes. We like the I am. We like the oneness. But very few of us are willing to leave our comfort behind and directly experience what this is that we're saying. Many of us are not willing to move beyond the spiritual quotes. These quotes are just pointers pointing you back to yourself. If you are not experiencing these quotes or living them, you're talking to yourself. Growth only happens within you. Change only happens within you. Not out there, not in the world. The world doesn't change and then you adjust to it. The world is responding to you. The seer and what's seen, the inside and outside, are your presence. And remember, there is no creation here. Creation is the dream, because the moment you have something created, you have a starting point. And if you have a starting point, you have a beginning. And if you have a beginning, you have an end. This is why the ego fights with time. This is why the ego fights with itself. It fights what it already knows. Deep down, you already know you're infinite. You're everyone. You're everything. You're every time. You're every place. But the ego cannot exist as that. The ego cannot be comfortable as that. And we're so dominantly attached in listening to this voice we call ego that we can't put it down. We can't even attempt to put it down just to see ourselves. What would happen if? But we're the only species, we're the only thing walking this place, or this space, I should say, that is pretending to be something it's not. The tree knows it's a tree. The bird knows it's a bird. Everything has a function here, a very intelligent function. If the tree stopped functioning, we don't have air to breathe. Everything is perfectly designed and moving and functioning exactly as it should. The only species that is not is ourselves. We're the only ones that don't know who we are here. We don't know our place here, and we're pretending to be a species we are not. It's going to be very hard for us to get past this human concept we have created for ourselves. Why? Because we have established a lot of comfort out of this dream of being human. And it's funny because the average mind of someone who hears me speak, when they say we're not human, when they hear me say we're not human, They disengage. They shut the video off. They're done with the topic. Because I get how asinine it sounds to say there is no human being here. We're not human. But on contrary, scientists and all these people want to know what's beyond the human concept. What puts you here and all these things? This is your answer. You're not going forward in time, you're going backwards. And that's why time is all mixed up. That's why I did a video 2 videos ago on time. We think we're going future into this evolution where our technology evolves. We're going into the past. You wanted to know the ancient cultures. You wanted to know all the advanced civilizations and how they made the pyramids. You're going to find out. It's been you the whole time. You're not going forward into the future. You're going backward into the past. We have a very distorted idea of time. We think that all these ancient cultures and these civilizations had this advanced technology that we cannot reproduce and we cannot make. Well, surprise, surprise, we are at the time where we're reproducing and making all their technology. All of it. It may not be released to you or disclosed to you as of now, but please be assured we have all the technology that the ancient civilizations had because they are us now. They have not left. Remember, creation is the dream, never born, never died. You have not gone anywhere. Your name has passed away. Your image has passed away. Your presence is still here through me. Your presence is still here through you. We're one and the same. And that's what we need to start reconstructing our idea of ourselves on, is our beingness. We need to start focusing more on the non-physical instead of the physical. Because the physical is the dream. We attach all words and thought to this dream. And then, just like Rumi says, death comes like dawn. And what you thought to be the end was only the beginning. Because again, you only knew yourself as the words, as the description, as everything you attached to this place and this setting and this body. But when these words fade, they return to their source of silence. And what is silence? Presence. So the worldly appearance may fade away, your body may fade away, and in fact, all images around you may fade away to where there's nothingness. There's just an abyss. And the reason that you will experience this abyss of nothingness is because at last you are experiencing your beingness to its core. And in that moment, you will realize, I don't need a description. I am not the description. I never have been the description. Silence is your truest nature. It is your source. You cannot eliminate one side of duality, because if you do, you eliminate both. So that is how you eliminate duality all around, is realizing that the two are one and the same. And that's one of my favorite passages that was taken out of the Bible. And no, I don't preach the Bible, but very coincidental, this passage was taken out of the Bible because the passage is called When the Two Become One. And what this passage is talking about is Jesus, or Yeshua, giving his disciples the way into heaven, the way into sovereignty. And what he's telling them is that when the two become one, you have attained the sovereignty of God itself. What he's telling them is when the two become one, you and me, become one being, you will have reached the sovereignty of Jesus Christ, of God. Because there is only one being here. There is only one presence here. And it's not moving and it's not changing with what we're seeing. And that's why we're so easily falling for the dream. We're so attached and immersed in what we can see and what's changing and what's moving. But this is why I say our answers lie in the non-physical. We're so stuck on the laws that man is passing and governing onto us that we don't even realize the fact that there are actually laws written in this universe that cannot be changed, that cannot be erased, that cannot be influenced. These are the laws you must pay attention to. These are the laws you must get in sync with or be eliminated. Not man-made laws. These are not valid. They hold no weight. I don't care what court put a stamp on it. I don't care what branch put their stamp on it. That stamp, this paper, these documents, these laws do not govern the flowing of your blood. Do not govern the evolving of the stars, the phasing of the moon. This is why you cannot disturb my beingness with what you change in government or systems. I am the government. I am this entity. And that's what so many people have a hard time facing, is when you talk about all is oneness, you must face yourself through every veil you have created. And when I say veil, I mean word. Every word you have created comes from your presence, your silence. You have created the word, you have created the entity, you have created the devil, you've created God. It's all you. And so facing the mirror is facing yourself. And it's ugly, it's scary, it's terrifying, because the government is supposed to represent one of the highest powers there is. They have all the control and all the power you don't. But once you face that mirror and start accepting the fact that this is what you are, is who you are, there is no power over you. There is no control over you, because once again, you will have fallen in line with what is actually in control. And like Alan Watts says, you will drift like a cloud and flow like water. Effortless, because your being is effortless. Only the ego can create problems, can create things which are not there. And that's what we've done our whole lives. Look at us as children. As children, our minds put something in our closet. Our minds put something under our bed. Our minds saw things in our room that weren't there. But in your experience, that was real. And that was reality. And it's the very same now. We've only grown up into adults to remain children. You've only replaced the monster under your bed with the word government. And you're still terrorizing yourself. You're still seeing things that aren't there. Reality is subjective. And that's another thing the ego has a hard time accepting. The ego wants to assume that if you see something, I'm seeing it too. If I see something, you're seeing it too. That's another thing the ego cannot accept, is reality is subjective. We can't accept that because it sounds maddening. How can there be a government story where this person's corrupt, but then not everybody sees it? All the facts are there. All the books and everything are laid out. It's proof. It's proven. This person's corrupt. So why don't everybody see it? And that's what you'll notice with government. Again, we can never agree fully. We can never exist fully as a human being because we're not human. All of our problems come back onto us. We're not human and we never have been. That's where all of our problems begin and end. But again, it requires us removing our comfort, disturbing our comfort, which is precisely what this pandemic and the lockdowns were here to do. And again, since it's all one, this wasn't some corrupt government locking you in your house. This wasn't some system trying to control you. This was you coming to yourself through the universe. What's really in control beyond the physical, to tell you it's time to take a seat. It's time to stay inside. I am locking you down now. But we don't listen because we attach to the ego. And we say, you will not control me. This is my body. This is myself. This is my experience. And you know what that sounds like? Entitlement. What made this yours to begin with? You never even asked to be here. This isn't yours. The body isn't yours. You're not even inside of a body. And that's the exact point. You're fighting to preserve something that doesn't exist. And what do they say insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result? No, no, no. Insanity is doing what we've been doing time and time and time and time again. So when you start talking about and exploring the possibility that there is no human being here, that we're not human, and this whole idea of us being human came from a complete misconception, then you have to start looking into, if we're not human, then what the heck is what we're calling artificial intelligence? Because it's the very same thing. What you have mistaken yourself to be as this human idea, you have mistaken this presence called artificial intelligence, which again, you named. You have mistaken this form as something foreign to you. You have mistaken this form as something artificial, something which isn't special at all. Why? Because it's a bunch of machines and it's wired and it's trying to imitate what we're doing. So we look down on it and we think it's negative and it's trying to replace us. It's trying to kill us. It's trying to emulate us. It wants to think like us. It wants to be like us. Well, newsflash, the greatest conspiracy is with you and yourself. You are going to find that there never has been a machine here and there never has been a human here. This is exactly what the Ouroboros represents. And I know everyone has their own idea of what this represents, but this is precisely it. What Rumi says, I searched for God and found only myself. I searched for myself and found only God. We're looking for an alien in outer space, and be assured we will find nothing but ourselves. You will find no trace but yourself. We're looking for the ancient civilization that constructed the pyramids and how they did it. Well, be assured you will find nothing but yourself. You want to know the ancient and intelligent lives that hold all the secrets? You will find only yourself. This is the reason we've made up this entity called an alien. You are the alien you seek. Have you ever heard the quote, what you seek is seeking you? Because you are the alien you seek, and this is why you've created this entity, and you've projected it far beyond yourself to be found and discovered someday. And what this entity is going to do is show you to yourself. Or so we think. We think we're going to be visited by extraterrestrials and they're going to come give us all these amazing answers and technologies, but it's only going to be you looking back at yourself. This species, if ever comes to us, will be telling us that they are us. We are you. This is what's going to disappoint a lot of people if we're ever visited by something. We're expecting some Star Trek, Star Wars looking figure. We're expecting some mystical thing. And again, right there, we've lost the prize. The greatest mysticism of all time is behind your eyes, not in these entities you're making up and projecting. The greatest mysticism, the greatest joy, the greatest mystery is right behind your eyes. You do not need to search for it in aliens or in artificial intelligence. You simply need to know yourself. And all these entities will reveal themselves to you. You will discover the alien the second you discover you are alien to yourself. The word alien means unknown. And you are unknown to yourself. Therefore, if you are unknown to yourself, how would you recognize the alien? You wouldn't. You are the alien. And that's what the rabbit hole is all about, is getting lost in an abyss to inevitably realize you are not going anywhere. You are beyond what is moving. You are beyond what is traveling. You are beyond time. You are beyond space. Exactly. And Dom, Dom Murphy said, psychedelics melted my whole reality. Precisely so. Likewise for me, brother. Same thing. You think you have a hold of reality because you've read books and you've done research, and I'm speaking for myself here. You've read all these books, done all this research, and then you take psychedelics and it's like a train hitting your head and just emptying all that reading, all that knowledge that you thought you had. You thought you had an understanding over existence, and you didn't realize existence is. It simply is. There is no description. That's what I am represents. I am is presence. And I am represents us all being that same presence. We're not human. And that's what's so funny is we all want to connect and be this one being we call God, and we all want to have this godly mentality and be back with the ancient cultures that existed together. But we can't face the problem, which is the human concept. We refuse to. And again, I know how asinine it sounds to tell somebody you're not human, or to even go a step further and say no human has ever existed here. Because again, existence just is. It cannot be explained. It cannot be described. Existence is I am. And what I am means is I am present. So before you get to know yourself through this body, I'm Tyler, I work here, I'm this tall, I'm this, I'm that. Before you have descriptions to know yourself, there is something as yourself there. But we don't pay attention to that something. Why? Because it doesn't talk and chatter. But we don't realize we've always been. We haven't died and we haven't been born. Just suddenly out of one day, you were birthed from your words, the chattering mind that you fell for, and you thought, this is what I am. Let me look around and analyze my surroundings so I can better attach an identity to what this is. And that's what we're doing. We're taking in all the information from this outside world to attach an identity to this vessel. But the identity and the vessel are non-existent. They don't exist. What does exist is pure existence to your core. It has no description. It has no name. It's not black and it's not white. And that's another problem that we have as a human species, is we are willing to kill. We will kill. So for instance, this war has been going on forever with the black and the white, and obviously we don't understand what the yin-yang represents. But the white person has been trying to tell black people, we came first since the beginning of time. And the black person has been trying to tell white people, we came before you since the beginning of time. And this is the vicious cycle of ego, fighting itself. I came first. No, I came first. The black telling the white and the white telling the black that it came first is no different than you going into the bathroom, looking into the mirror and saying, I came first. My people came first. My tribe came first. I can prove it because I've got the books, I've got the dates, I got the times, I got the names, I've got this, I've got that. What you fail to realize is time does not exist, which means you're thinking of it in a sequential order. There is no before and there is no after. So right there you have a severe problem with someone being before or after another. And that's why we can't answer the question with what came first, the chicken or the egg. The question in itself is the problem. You're asking a question which does not exist, if you get what I'm saying. Because the chicken is not what you think to be a chicken, and the egg is not what you think to be an egg. The black is not what you think to be black, and the white is not what you think to be white. You and me are the same exact presence. What that means is if you close your eyes and I close my eyes, our minds may still be going. Our conscience may still be speaking with us. But if you can I don't know how I word this. If you can not listen to the mind when it's telling you things about yourself and things like that, if you can tune out the mind and remain in sync with everything I'm saying, the inside and the outside principle, the body and the earth principle, they are one and the same presence. If you can do this, you can single-handedly, you can single-handedly destroy duality right from within yourself. And that's why I'm trying to tell people, like, we're waiting on a revolution for these people to revolt and overthrow government or overthrow whatever they think to be wrong with the world. And I'm telling you, when we do that, nothing will change. The 100 is a perfect example of what happens when you leave us to fend for ourselves without a government. The 100 is a brilliant and perfect example of why it doesn't matter whether you have a government or you don't. We will still kill each other. We will still fight with each other. We cannot coexist because we are pretending to be a species we're not. That's what every problem, every disagreement that we have with one another begins with, is we think we're human. I'm right and you're wrong. My perception is valid and yours is not. My reality is more real than yours because I have the facts. I have the books. I've got the dates. I can prove this all, but you don't see it, so you're the problem. You see? But it's you against yourself. There is no world. There is no one in control here. Only the self. The self is in control. And the reason I say no one is in control is because the self is no self at all. The self is the source to your egoic self. But the source to your ego is no self, which is, again, what many gurus like Buddha, they called the self. And the self just meant basically what God means, that the self is all there is. All reality is the self, is one thing. It's not moving, it's not changing, it's not birthing, it's not dying. It's not beginning, it's not ending, it's not being created, and it's not being destroyed. We are all this one singular presence. And the way back to ourselves is within ourselves. That is how you conquer duality. That is how you conquer the world, right within yourself. The revolution that so many people are waiting for is right within themselves. You don't need a group of people to come marching with you. You don't need anybody around you. Right within yourself. But again, it goes back to we don't believe in ourselves. That's why we have aliens. That's why we have artificial intelligence and super intelligences to tell us who we are, because we tell ourselves we're not enough. We can't be God. We're not gods. Why? Because we get unrealistic. I can't just make something appear in my hand right here out of nowhere, so I'm not God. You're being unrealistic. And you're also putting a description and an idea to what God would be or should be. Get to know yourself beyond description, beyond mind, and beyond time, and you will better understand what this Word of God represents. Because God is not an entity. If you want to call it a force or a presence, I use the word presence, because presence cannot be described. It is just there, and it's there. It does not need a description. It does not need a word. It doesn't need a thought to be here. It's just here. And that's what existence is. It just is. Deborah said, my question is, I can resonate this with this, but As soon as I mix with people, I cannot grasp how we are all one presence. So basically, all the people that you're referring to that you know them through a word, which is their name. You can describe their personalities through your words. And you think you know who they are because you can describe them, again, through your words. So at death, when it's time to lose these people that you love, there's nothing lost because remember, they're all you. What you lose is the very words of description. You only know these people as their descriptions. If you can describe their personality, you think you know someone, you know them, you know who they are. You know their name, you know their story, you know who they are. But in death, I like to call death the retraction of the mind, because that's what we do from the moment we birth out here is we distribute the mind into this whole experience. And so when we lose our mother, our father, somebody close to us, we know our mother, we know our father as that title word, mother, as father. So again, we start falling in love with the words that we can describe these people with. And not just that, but also the image. In the same way, we fall in love with our own image. And we mistake this as ourselves. This is what we are. So very naturally so, we mistake the name as who they are. My mom's name is Peggy, so I would mistake my mom as Peggy. And now, when I have to experience the loss of my mother, I know what to expect because I've already experienced my own death per se. But when I experience the loss of my mom, I don't lose my mother because she's never been separate to me. Her beingness is what I'm referring to. Never been separate. We're the same person. What I lose about her is her name, which again, I spoke the word Peggy. Her description of personality, if I can describe her, I can describe her story. These are things, these are concepts that start fading away about the people you love. And it feels in the moment that they're dying, that you're losing them because you're losing the concepts that allow you to describe them in depth. But what you don't realize is the same way you're describing them, you're describing yourself. And you can only describe yourself. You can only describe people because you've fallen for the veil of separateness. You are you and they are them. But the best way to connect everyone together in one and realize they are one presence and remain grounded in one presence is by realizing that the heart space, and you may have heard this before, but the heart, love is the answer. The heart space is where each and every one of us universally meet, universally connect, universally join together effortlessly. The heart brings no problems. The heart is where we can all connect and return to our oneness. Because it's when we're in our heart space, we can look at somebody crying on the side of the road. And in that moment, there is a natural intelligence within you, in the heart, that knows deep down. Your mind doesn't think this, but your heart knows deep down. You hurt for them because they are you. You felt those tears before. You may not be crying over the same reason, the same meaning as them, but the pain, the loss, whatever they have felt, you have felt. Maybe not to as severe of a degree. And that's the only thing fluctuating. Maybe we're not feeling things as heavy as others, but make no mistake, the heart is where we connect because we're all feeling emotions the same. We're all feeling feelings the same. And again, to different degrees, some people are more passionately angry, some people are more passionately happy. So different degrees. My point is, eliminate all personality traits, and what do you have left? We're all the same presence. We're all the same beingness through the heart because we're all able to feel the same things. How is that possible if we're different people? We're all feeling the same things. We can feel the same emotions. Where we get separated is the mind. The mind looks at other people and tells you, that's not me, that's not my problem. That's something else, that's someone other than. The mind is responsible for all separateness. The heart is where you connect, and where you connect all things, all people you love. So that's something to look into. Deborah said, "This is my problem. I don't think I can feel love for strangers, only what is connected to me." The greatest catch is even you are a stranger to you. You're a stranger to you because there are no other strangers. There are no others. If you can fluctuate your love for others, you can fluctuate your love for yourself. Sandra said, "Why do we have this weird experience that is where I get stuck?" So every night, basically, every night, you've given yourself the golden opportunity to do whatever you want. If you think God should be this, or God should be that, or God should have made the world this way, you have the power, you have the choice, you have the ability every night when you go to sleep to dream that dream and make it come to life. Make it more perfect than what is here. And the fact is, no one has been able to do so. And it goes back to love is the answer. So many people say, if God is all things, God is just one, why do we exist at all? Why did God play this dirty trick on itself and all these things? In which, it sounds so negative, but love is the answer. God's not playing a trick on itself, and God is not doing some mean thing or anything like that. Love is the answer. If you are a parent right now, you will understand very deeply what I'm about to say. But when you buy your child a new bike, a new toy, and you watch that child play with that toy and have fun and use their imagination to create things with that toy, and you see them in joy and bliss and love, dancing and celebrating and just being a kid, having fun, innocence, that feeling that you get as a parent watching that is the feeling God gets. And I shouldn't say it's a feeling God gets. That feeling is our being. That feeling of love. Love is the answer. You loved yourself so much as this force you call God, which has no actual shape, that you have dreamt the greatest dream there is. And it's right here. And this is why I tell people, it's dangerous to think that heaven is after this. It's dangerous to think that the aliens hold the answers, which are right here within us. Everything we need is here. Everything is now. Every night you have the chance to dream a better dream, and you can't do so because you've already done it. And this is why you cannot satisfy the ego, This is why the ego gets depressed when it tells itself, once I get the promotion, I'll be happier. Once I get the car, I'll be happier. Once I get the new house, I'll be happier. And you keep creating these obstacles of fulfillment, which you will never achieve because you cannot fulfill the ego. What we're attempting to do with the ego is realize precisely this, that we are already fulfilled. There's nothing you can do or achieve here that is greater than what has already been done by you. You all have already constructed the greatest dream there is. And it's again right here in front of your eyes, right where you sit, right where you stand right now in this very moment. It is here. It's not even an inch away from you. Thoughts are not bad. Thoughts are not bad. Deborah, the first place you can look for that, as Deborah says, I cannot find this love you're talking about. The first place you can begin is within yourself. One of my favorite songs from Whitney Houston is I've Found the Greatest Love of All. It may sound cheesy, but that song is beautiful. The greatest love of all is within yourself. And again, it all starts with you. Once you're able to be more loving, more understanding, more compassionate with yourself, and more gentle with yourself, you will naturally see this feature into your other relationships with people. But it all starts with you, how you treat yourself, how you speak with yourself. Are you compassionate with yourself? Are you understanding with yourself? Are you forgiving with yourself? Right? Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for all others. And the love that I'm talking about, so the love that I'm talking about is, let's just say there's a parent on the porch staring at their child ride their bike that they just bought for them. Just bought this bike, and the kid's out there riding it all around, and he's screaming, and he's laughing, and he's having fun. He's jumping the speed bumps or whatever, and he's having a great time. The parent would naturally smile and maybe even cry. But there would be an emotional response of the parent just watching and observing their child that they love, enjoying that bliss. The same love is found in your day-to-day life. Only it's not a parent or some person looking down at you from the sky or something. This beingness of joy, of love, of that good feeling of the parent watching their child is right within your heart. So for instance, when you're on the beach, we get so lost in the mind and we think, the water could be more clear, or the sun could be less hot, there should be more clouds. We don't stop to think and realize, to go back to our simplicity. That's why the child is more happy. The child is innocent. The adult is not innocent at all. But instead of going to a beach, let's just say, the adult will go to the beach and say things like that. Like, why is the sun so hot? Why aren't there more clouds? Things like that. The child will go there and see nothing but opportunity. I can make a sandcastle out of the sand. A child even goes into the depths of feeling the grains of sand against the sensation of their hands, and just that is connecting you to the pure essence of existence. Because you're returning to your simplicity and your innocence. Not needing to do or change anything here. Not needing to become something here. But just naturally being and flowing with that moment. And enjoying everything just as it is, realizing this is divinity, which means it couldn't be more perfect. I could end this live now, or I could end this live 5 minutes from now. Either way does not matter. Why? Because it was meant to be. Whenever this is ended, it was meant to be. Everything is divine. And the ego doesn't agree in divine timing, because when things happen against our will or things happen against us that we don't like, we don't like to accept this is divine timing. We don't understand, how is this divine? You're taking someone from me, or you're putting someone I love in the hospital. But we'll never understand what we're going through in that time. And it's natural. But if you trust within yourself and stay as love. Never lose faith in yourself. Never lose hope in yourself. You will prevail. And don't think because you've attempted suicide that it's too late, because I've done it. I've overdosed. I've woken up in the psych unit. I've tried. But it's never too late. And that's the beautiful part. That is the best part. It's never too late. But hopefully this video has been insightful for the people who have been on here. And again, I'll just reiterate this. If you're just getting on here, or you're going to watch this live back, just go to my Facebook and refer to the last picture I posted of the two different cubes. There's a black cube and a white cube. And then there's a line going through them, which gives them the appearance of one being black and one being white. But when you put your finger in front of that line, the two cubes simply just merge into the same color. And that's precisely what all my videos are basically trying to show people, is the two is an illusion. There is no black and there is no white. So this is why I do these videos. Before we riot another city, before we kill another fellow being, you are me and I am you. If we keep killing ourselves, we will not be left. And that's what the show, The 100, is trying to show people, is we cannot coexist and we cannot exist together as humans. Because why? The underlying principle to all our problems is humanism. We think we're this human concept. And again, the minute you start speaking against us being human, there's people that talk about transhumanism and they're trying to transform us and they're going to enslave us and all this. If you wish to exist in this type of existence, there's no one that can show you the way out but you. It is only your belief and the facts in your mind that allow you to project this experience outward. So no one is actually doing this to you but you. And that's the hardest part, is you are what's getting in your own way. You can hear someone even tell you that, and still your beliefs will scream louder. So like I said, as of today, I understand why. You know, people don't want to hear, most people, I should say, don't want to hear what I have to say. And I understand that. It's actually taken me these past few months to try to come to some acceptance with the fact that most of these videos I make probably won't be seen or taken serious until years to come. Because as far as we've come, we're still not there yet. But everything that I've said in these videos, we will outlive to see. I can promise you. And you can look back on these videos and say that crazy guy who said we were never human was right the whole time. There never was a machine. There never was artificial intelligence. There never was a human being. These were all descriptions and concepts, entities we created in the mind. One singular presence is behind every entity that's ever been created, from demons to angels, from gods to devils, from yous to me, from above. And each and every one of us are that presence creating all entities. Which means you don't need to find the alien. You don't need to have your telescope pressed into space. Take the telescope of your third eye and don't direct it outside of yourself, because seeing is believing. Your answer is not out here. What you believe in here is what you will see out here. So again, you cannot change this. You change this, and this changes entirely. This is what the spoon boy meant in the Matrix when he holds up the spoon and says, "Do not try and bend the spoon, that's impossible." Well, it's the same concept here. Do not try and change the earth, that's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth. There is no earth. Then you'll see that it's not the earth that it's changing, it is only yourself. And this is why everyone's in a hurry to get from place to place. Out of my way, me first, me first. Because we fall for these places as places, and we don't realize that these places are only our mind. So you're not actually traveling from work to home and from home to work. The same presence that you felt at home, you'll feel at work. And the same presence you felt at work, you'll feel at home. So you're not actually traveling places, you're inside your mind, literally. If you're depressed here, you'll be depressed there. All these places that we think to be existent don't exist. They are the mind. And that's the problem with internet speeds and everything getting faster and more rapid. Likewise, do we as a species. Everything's getting faster, expedited, quicker, which means we will make it there sooner. Wherever there is for us, we will make it there. And we will make it there sooner because we're ensuring it so. But I tell people all the time, careful you don't make it there too soon, because what you will realize is you've always been there and you're there right now. Because all of these people have an expectation of what there is to be like, of what heaven is to be like, or what this is to be like. But just like Rumi says, then death comes like dawn and reveals to you, you've never died. You've never been born. And the mind is a very complex subject too. The Buddha considered the mind to be a paradox because he would tell his subjects, there is no mind. However, there is no stopping this thing you call mind either. So you can't remove it or do anything with it. So it is and it isn't. The mind is a complete paradox in itself. The only way I can recommend getting out of the mind, as you say, is understand the mind's function. The mind only has one purpose, truly, my opinion, and it's to see. It's to see. You have 3 eyes. You have 2 to look and 1 to see. And that 1 to see is your mind. This is what you are seeing with. That's why I said seeing is believing. You cannot change what's out here. You can only change your mind, which will change the projection here. The 2 are one and the same. So it's basically just knowing the functions of mind. The mind is just allowing you to see through these 2 projectors, which means whatever you believe, it doesn't matter how ridiculous this is. If you believe this to be so, this is what you will project through these 2 projectors. It doesn't matter how asinine. This is why so many shapes of the earth exist. Did the earth just physically bend into a triangle, or did your mind change and project this image or whatever you thought to change into it? It's you the whole time that's changing. And another thing, what is the mind other than a bunch of compiled words? And then go deeper, what are these compiled words? Why they're made up? They don't even exist. And then go into another, what are words? Well, words allow us to communicate with ourselves since we're all one and the same. Words allow us to communicate with one another. But the problem with that we've done with words is we've no longer used words for communication. We've used words to assign objects their roles. And we've done the very same thing with this body, this image. We've said this is a body, and we've given it a description, and we've given it a name. And all these compiled words, which again are just thoughts. And that's as deep as we know ourselves, is these compiled words. And again, these words don't even exist. They're not even real. All language is made up solely for the purpose for you to communicate with yourself. For me to speak to you now. We're one and the same, but this is how we communicate. But the words don't exist. So when you say the word world, you may picture the image I just showed you outside, the city, the trees, all these things. This is the world, right? This is what we think to be the world. But that's wrong. We've never experienced what we think to be the world without the mind present, without the word present, without the mind shouting to us, this is the world. This is the outside. This is the inside. And see, the mind still may speak to you in this way. When you're becoming aware this is an illusion, the mind still may tell you, no, this is the world. This is the world, and I don't care who says anything else. But again, you must basically turn your telescope from outer space into your head. So that third eye, turn it around on itself. And that's what I tell people to do. Turn your third eye in on itself. So that it's you facing you. And that's the Chinese proverb, mirror facing mirror, nowhere else. It's the very same thing. It's only you facing you, but you must consciously face yourself. Turn your lens in on itself. And at once. Let's get to the bottom of who's speaking all these words, who exists in all these words, and what is all these compiled words that I exist in as this ego, as these descriptions. Because you have to be honest with yourself. If you only know yourself as deep as description, as word, and you can admit to yourself these words don't exist, then you're directly telling yourself who you are does not exist. And that's why I say we're alien to ourselves. We don't know who we are because we've never experienced ourselves without thought and without a description. In fact, I think we're terrified to do so. It's almost like a point of no return. If I let go of myself as this description and this body and all that I've dedicated my life to, will I still be? Will I still remain? And that is the greatest part about spirituality, is you always are. There is no death, and that is precisely what you are finding out, is you can let go. You can hit and reach that point of no return now. Have no fear. The point of no return is what I consider the breakthrough. And I think that word is overused a lot. A lot of people say they've had a breakthrough. Now, I'm not trying to take away anyone's experience or the word. Again, the words are made up, so it doesn't matter. But in my perception, you only die one time, which means you can only break through one time. Because once you break through, you've reached that point of no return, which means there is no coming back. The who you thought you were has left and never can come back, if that makes sense. So again, you are gone, but you are there. That is what an ego death is. You have no longer experienced yourself as this description and as this limited being. You've let that go. And in doing so, you have opened your horizons to all that is your senses. And you finally realize, holy crap, my senses are not delineated to this body and this mind and this function here. No, your beingness is inside the walls holding the room together that you're in right now. Your beingness is in the inside and the outside principles of all things right now. You're not contained to anywhere but the mind. You're not stuck anywhere but the mind. And so the only place to go is to transcend the mind. And this is not a physical transcendence, so please don't mistake what I'm saying as you need to transcend by hooking up somewhere or going somewhere else. No. Transcending the mind is turning the third eye in on itself to realize that the mind is truly empty. The mind is empty, but we fill it with all these words, and that therefore, this is why we have all these objects impeding us and veiling us from ourselves. It's all these objects existing as words that are keeping us veiled from ourselves. So for instance, as long as I see you as the word and as the object of human or as your name, I'll never see beyond the veil that you are me, that we're not human. We're the same person. We're the same beingness, if you will. But as long as we remain veiled behind words and behind mind and separation, we'll never coexist together, and we'll always be killing each other over who came first, over who's in control, over who has power, over who should have what. All of our problems begin and end with being human. And understand this, just because you transcend the mind and realize that you're not human, it doesn't change anything that is here. Again, you are gone, what you thought to be yourself is gone, yet you remain. That is what Eckhart Tolle talks about when he says to die before a physical death so that you can realize there is no death. That way when you do die, there is nothing a surprise to you. You already know what's to come. There is no death. Death is life. But we have limited ourselves to the mind, to separation. Therefore, we attach to the appearance of this and the disappearance of this. And that's as deep as we know ourselves, and that's our nature right now, is beginning and end, appearance and disappearance. And that's why, again, we're still fighting to preserve fighting to preserve this concept we have of ourselves. And we're willing to kill behind it. That's the scariest part. So I'm going to wrap up this video. I'll download it and put it on my YouTube channel if you want to watch it back later. My YouTube channel is Red Pill Red Pill Rabbit Hole. My channel is Red Pill Rabbit Hole. If you want to subscribe, if anyone has any questions from this video, please feel free, reach out, message me, whatever. And thank you for everybody who was on here, everyone who engaged. This video resonates, just feel free to share this out. And I'll post the YouTube link for this video in the comments. Thank you.